So I was working on something the other day and I got hit with a thought out of nowhere that is not a new principle, but rather it is a new way to express something that I use all the time when I'm looking in the Bible and I'm trying to understand a passage better. And it comes down to these three words: premise before purpose. Oftentimes we know that context is important, but we just don't know how to look at the context. So this hopefully provides a first step in understanding what an author is writing about. So I'm going to use an example from James chapter 2. Verse 17 says, "Even so faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone." One Bible scholar, Zane Hodges, wrote that for faith to be dead, it had to have been alive at some point. So he surmises these people that James is writing to have faith. And now that faith is inactive. The Greek word for dead used here is nekros. It means destitute of force or power, inactive, inoperative. So he says you don't see a dead body and say, well, there's somebody who never existed, right? These people have faith. It's just inoperative. But I heard a critique of this position. He said, okay, but is that really the plain intent of the author? And that's a great question that we should ask ourselves. Not what can this verse mean to me based on my experience, but what does the author intend to convey through this verse? Is the point that James is making that these people have faith? And I said to myself, no. I don't think that that's the point that James is making. The point is not that these people have faith. It's the premise. And that's the question that I think we should ask ourselves before we even ask ourselves, what is the intent of the author? This is the first part of understanding the author's intent. What is the premise of the author? The author isn't writing to tell them about how they have faith. He's writing to people who have faith by virtue of the premise of his letter. And he's telling them how that faith is inactive in their lives and how it's supposed to be active. And then he gives examples of active faith like Abraham and Rahab. But we have to understand the premise before we understand the purpose of the passage. Both are important, but we need to get them in the right order. And when we skip the premise and we try to go straight to the purpose, we're operating on shaky ground. So, number one, what is the premise of this passage? What does the author understand about who he's writing to? From there, then we can look at why the author is writing. The premise in James is that these people are saved. The purpose of writing is to say they're not living how saved people should. They're not following the teaching that they have received. And James is rebuking and instructing them on that issue. Now, if you have tons of other questions about James, don't worry about it. We have 2 full episodes about James coming out very soon. So stay tuned for that. I hope that helps. And hopefully, like I said, it provides a framework for starting to understand what the context of a passage is. We want people to have tools in their own toolbox that when they open the Bible, they can understand what it's saying so that they can unpack it and apply it to their lives. Until next time, here, there, or in the air.